I want you to imagine that your wildest dreams will come true if all you did was burn a hole through a piece of paper using just the light from the sun. And to do it, you have two options. Option one is you move the light up and down and all around the paper. Option two is you leave the light in the same place. Which one do you pick? It's option two, right? Because if you leave the light in the same place, it's gonna leave enough intense focus from the light that it's gonna burn a hole through the paper faster. This is exactly the principle that I use that helped me to be a producer in the industry for over 14 years. And it's also the approach that I'm gonna use that's gonna help me to grow my sample library over the next 6 to 12 months. I'm gonna pick a goal, I'm gonna go all in on it, and most importantly, I'm gonna ignore 100% of the things that don't help me hit that goal faster. But there's actually a hidden challenge in that most of us don't realize, which is how do you even know what to focus on? Now, I honestly believe that there are 3 levels to being a music producer. But to build a career or a business in music, first you have to figure out what level you're at, and then you have to focus 100% of your energy on the task that'll help you to master that level and then move on to the next one. So let me break them down so we can figure out which one I'm at. So first off, just to keep it simple with the naming, we have level 1 producers. At this stage, you should either be refining your skills as a music producer or you should kind of have your style already nailed down. Now, in my case, like I said, I've been producing for over 14 years now, and I've produced for artists like Joe Budden, Rick Ross, P&B Rock, Wale. So I think I can kind of check that off. And the real reason why I want to refine my own skill set and my own sound is so that I can develop my own distinctive niche within the music business and in the producer community. So at this level, we need to be focused on 2 different things: creating music as consistently as possible and building a potential business database. That's it. That's the objective. In fact, here's what that would look like in some of the different niches. So let's start off with one of the most common niches for producers today, which is a beat store. If I were to start a beat store today, my primary focus actually wouldn't be to get sales right away. Instead, my first real goal would be to build up an email list of at least 5,000 artists that I know that I can at least market to later on. Why? Because most people don't usually buy products on a whim that they don't need from businesses and people that they don't know and have never heard of before. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to sell anything, but at this stage, my bar for success is to try to grow my mailing list so that I can offer value to them weekly, bi-weekly, or even monthly. All right, so real quick, I was actually in the middle of editing this part of the video and I wanted to add a little bit of extra context here. So generally speaking, the longer you can go without getting too salesy with your audience, the better off you'll be. But the reason why I specify here that I'm not saying that you shouldn't necessarily try to sell anything is because, especially if you have a beat store, people are probably gonna wanna buy one of the beats from you, whether or not you're trying to sell it. And for most of us, we also don't have it like that to turn down sales or turn down any money that people might send our way whenever we're trying to build up our business. So if in the process of you trying to build up your contact list, you're actually able to get a couple of sales here and there, then great. But for the most part, my mindset needs to be focused on building up a curated list of potential buyers for my beats who are actually going to be interested in the beats that I release in the future. So next up, we have my new niche, which is a sample library. So for a sample library, or basically any kind of a niche where you're trying to sell sounds and kits to other producers, the strategy is actually going to be pretty similar to having a beat store. So especially if you're like me and in the beginning, you don't really have much of an ad budget, rather than putting all of my energy into trying to sell sound kits and sample packs to producers who don't know me right out the gate, my real focus is going to be on adding value and trying to build up a mailing list of at least 5,000 producers that I can market to and add value to. And so they might be slightly more motivated to either buy sounds from me or pay for services from me in the future. And who knows, maybe we'll even get to work together. Now, the third niche I want to touch on is the one that I actually started in, which is getting placements, or some people call it placement chasing. So in my personal experience, the key to getting placements in the beginning is I had to learn how to get rid of the urge to be transactional and learn how to interact with people as a business. Because if you want high quality results, then you have to use high quality tactics. So instead of spamming people's emails that I don't know with beats that they didn't ask for, I actually reached out to them and tried to build relationships. And I did things like trying to find out what they were working on at the time and then figure out how I could offer my services and be useful to them. Because the truth is, regardless of the position of the person that you're trying to reach out to, everybody has something going on. And one of the things that you kind of have to learn to accept as a creative is we don't get to determine how valuable what we have to offer is to the other person. So for example, the way that I managed to basically get mentored by the Justice League and get half of my placements with them was I found out that they were developing an artist at the time. I reached out to that artist and I actually worked with that artist for about a year without even asking about the Justice League. And eventually, over time, the more demos we did, the more songs he sent over to the Justice League, they eventually reached out to me because they saw my work ethic. They saw that there was talent behind what I was doing. And they also saw that I was working to get placements with other artists. So they realized that they weren't gonna have to basically pull all of the weight if they did decide to bring me into the fold. But remember, no matter what niche you choose, your two main objectives should be to create consistently and to build up as many contacts as you can so that you can actually have a running business moving on into the future. So honestly, let's say you're starting out with a beat store and someone comes along and says, hey, you should start selling loops, or hey, you should maybe try out these 6 or 7 other ways to make music as a music producer. The first question in your mind should be, how are these things gonna help me to reach my level 1 goal? And if whatever it is doesn't align with your goal, then it might not be something that you wanna pursue right now, because it's really easy to get distracted by things that look like they're gonna be helpful, but they actually just take you away from what you're actually trying to accomplish.
You gotta be quicker than that.
So now you're probably thinking to yourself, all right, all of this is great, but how would I even go about building up my contact list? And one of the best ways to do that, especially when you're just starting out, is by offering something that's preferably free and of value, and that's basically a no-brainer to all the people in your audience. Just like this deluxe sound kit that I'm releasing for the Hill Sounds. Inside, totally for free, I'm giving away 10 fire 808s, 20 instrument loops, and 50 melodic one-shots to help you shape your own style, whether you're making samples or beats. Plus, I'm throwing in a royalty-free sample pack, and I added a separate bonus sample pack with 5 boom bap samples, 5 soul samples, and 5 vintage score samples just for the hell of it. It's pretty much everything that you could possibly need to practice, build, and develop your own sound without spending a dime. Just hit the link in the description to get yours sent right to you. So now we get to level 2, which is basically what happens once you've hit that initial goal of getting to maybe 5,000 subscribers to your email list, or getting enough contacts in the industry so that you can have a good steady flow of work coming into you as a producer if you're trying to send out work to get placements. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is pat yourself on the back, because take it from me, it does take a hell of a lot of work to even get there. But chances are, if you've gotten yourself to that point as a producer, then most likely what that means is you put in enough reps in order to be as good as you need to be in order to have a career, and you've also done enough work to build up an audience behind yourself or build up enough relationships so that you can consistently be able to get work or make money off of all of the things that you're gonna do. So now comes your next big challenge in level 2. You've gone past just building awareness, and now it's time to take action. The goal here, especially if you took the beat store or the sample library route, is to build something meaningful, like a product or a service that you can offer to the people who've been following you all this time. And here's some ways that that might look. So one of the first things you're gonna wanna do is create a focused offering. Choose one thing that you do really well and then go all in on it, whether it's a production suite, a course, or a service. And again, going back to the theme of focusing, instead of juggling a whole bunch of different ideas, you're gonna put all of your energy into developing this one thing. And using that kind of focus means that you can put all of your energy into developing something great for your audience that you've been building all this time. Once I reach this point, I might even scale back on all the content that I put out, just so that I can focus on developing the product or the service and make it as good as it could possibly be. Now, another thing that you're gonna start wanting to do is really shift your content to product focused engagement. Instead of focusing on just views, which you really should never do anyway, you really wanna practice building up a story for whatever product or service it is that you're gonna put out. Because even if they've already built up a following, anybody can put out a new production suite that has 300 samples and drum one-shots, melodic one-shots, drum loops, and all of the different things that people put in their production suites. But the ones that I've seen do the best are usually the ones that have a story built around it somehow, because it really helps to build up excitement and anticipation for the audience. And then the third thing that you're gonna wanna do, which is again, something that you're probably gonna get good at in the first level, because it's kind of hard to build up a real audience of 5,000 email list subscribers if you haven't somehow gotten good at doing this. You're gonna wanna engage with your audience and get feedback on the things that you're doing. It's just kind of common sense, and in all honesty, listening to your audience and actually hearing what it is that they want from you is kind of a cheat code for figuring out whether or not the thing that you're gonna be making is even wanted in the market. Because believe me, one of the worst feelings in the world is spending all of your time developing a product, putting it out, and absolutely no one buying it, despite all of the effort and hard work and even money you might have put into it. So basically, level 2 isn't really about stretching yourself thin across a bunch of different platforms and trying to figure out a whole bunch of different things that you can offer to your audience. If anything, it's really about doubling down on the few things that you know are gonna make an impact because you've been doing it already, in order to be able to build up the contacts or build up the list that you've built up. And now, instead of selling beats or products to artists who have never heard of you before and really and truly don't really want to buy anything from you, instead, now you're basically in a position to kind of tailor make whatever product or service it is that you want to offer to the people who've been with you on the journey up until this point. And here's the crazy thing about level 2. For most producers, regardless of whatever niche they chose, once they get to level 2, they can pretty much stay there indefinitely. And honestly, I genuinely don't think that most producers need to get past there. Because once you get to this point, the biggest challenge that you're gonna have is building up a system that's gonna be able to keep it going. So now we get to the final level of producers, which is level 3. And by the time I hit level 3, I've already mastered my production craft. I developed a solid, scalable scalable product or service, and I've learned how to cultivate strong business relationships. So this stage is where I would end up shifting my focus from hands-on production to now creating a fully realized brand. Basically stepping into a CEO mindset where the emphasis is on strategy, growth, and expansion. And the goal here would basically be to leverage all the success that I got at level 2 in order to grow my presence across different channels. This stage is all about becoming omnipresent. But what does being omnipresent really mean? What omnipresence doesn't mean is I'm doing everything myself. Instead, this is where I basically be assembling a team to help me be everywhere that my audience is. A few of the things that this might involve are creating high quality content like podcasts, video essays, and long form videos that build authority and show expertise. Putting out regular social media content to keep engagement high and my brand presence strong, and really expanding into formats like newsletters, exclusive events, or even collaborations with other influencers or brands to reach wider audiences. And then all of this exposure and all of these different content formats would basically work together to help me build my brand and expand my presence throughout the industry. It's actually more so about scaling your influence, which is why it's so important to do everything that you can to try to perfect level 2 if you want to get to this level, because the income that you get from level 2 is what's going to help you to grow and build level 3. Because if you don't do that and master level 2, it's going to be a lot harder for you to be able to bring on new team members, tackle even bigger and better creative projects that you may want to do, and gain influence on all the platforms that would help me to turn my brand into the powerhouse that I might want to turn it into. So in essence, I'd be moving from being a producer to being the owner of a brand that produces and teaches and inspires at a much larger scale. And one of the biggest shifts that I see happen when someone moves into level 3 is you really have to learn how to delegate. Level 3 in a nutshell is about building a legacy and a structure that can outlast you as a producer. Now, I already know that a lot of producers probably clicked away when I started talking about all of this stuff. So here's where I think things start to go off of the rails. If you're like me, then you've probably either gotten some pressure or you felt some pressure to try to jump right into level 3 strategies. So you might see what other producers might have. You see those placements, you see the big deals and social media following and everything like that. It's easy to think that the only way to make it is to do everything all at once. What I think tends to happen with a lot of producers is they might end up feeling burnt out really early on or disillusioned just with the idea of building your own career and making a living off of music to begin with. But here's one of the biggest and most important lessons that I've ever learned as a music producer after years of trial and error and, yes, a lot of mistakes. Not only are most of us just not ready for level 3 strategies right out the gate, most producers and even artists for that matter don't even really want that. But if you think about a lot of the advice that's out there for music producers, even when they're just starting out, a lot of people seem to be out there trying to encourage producers to solve level 1 problems with level 2 tactics. It's like being told to build a skyscraper when you're still trying to figure out the blueprints for a 1-story house. And so for me, realizing what level I'm at and then figuring out what strategies I need to use in order to master that level and then move on to the next one if I so choose, not only has been a game changer for me, but I believe it's going to continue to be a game changer for me as I move forward into the future. This is literally the framework that I'm going to be using to build a foundation for myself and my business as a music producer, rather than trying to figure out a whole bunch of different things and then burn out in the end. So now that we've gone through all of the different producer levels, the next thing that I want you to do is figure out what level you're on and then commit to mastering that. And as a matter of fact, I want you to write down one key goal for the level that you're at right now that you need to master, and then take one step today that's going to bring you closer to that goal. And then moving forward every week, just track your progress, figure out what worked, what didn't work, and then continue to do that until you get closer and closer to your goal. Then I want you to leave a comment and let me know what level you think you're at. And if you're at level 1, then maybe we can help to keep each other accountable. And if you don't think that you're at level 1 yet, and you're still in the process of trying to get your music good enough so that you can get to level 1 and start building your career, check out this video right here.